Three, two, one.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, a show all about the thrill of Rob's victories.
At 1-0 deficit, Ricky goes, a pitch taken, he's going to have it, he does! Ricky Henderson, no contest, steals third base, jerks the bag from its moorings, and holds it aloft, representing number 939.
Luke Brock was the symbol of great base stealing, but today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
And the agony of Steve's defeats.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Wash Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable. Michigan State is still the big boy on the block in the state of Michigan. A shocking ending to this rivalry game. And just when it looked like Michigan had made a number of statements regarding what's going on in this state, the Big Ten race, its position nationally, this happens.
And sometimes even the thrill of Steve's victories.
6 on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's the drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com. And now, the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Let me just double check here my cell phone, see if I'm missing anything from Steve and I from last night. Okay. Oh, yeah, we talked about that's not worth this show. Okay, so yesterday afternoon, 5:25 local time. At this point, the Home Run Derby broadcast has been on Netflix for about 25 minutes, as I told you yesterday it would be. I get a text from Steve. It says, is the Home Run Derby not on TV? And I know what he means. I mean, of course it's on TV, but he means TV. I sent him back. I said, correct. Only Netflix. And I'm imagining as I'm sitting on my sofa, Steve, not at the sports book, so he's trying to figure out streaming services. Where are things? And I imagine him, he gets my text and he becomes, it's a little bit of an inside reference, but there's this kids movie called Inside Out where their emotions come to life, and there's the fireball for anger, and I imagine Steve being the fireball as he just gets my text and he slams his fists into the coffee table. No, because he writes back and he says, this is what I've been bitching about, because you just couldn't even figure out where the damn game was. That was your first complaint.
Yes, and no fireball or anything like that, because I wasn't really that interested in it. It's not like this is game 5 of the World Series or something. It's like, it's the Home Run Derby. But I'm sitting in front of my TV going, what can I watch? Oh, yeah, that's right. This is on. And so I have Fubo. So I hit Fubo and I check everything there. No, it's not there. I go into Prime. I check Prime. No, it's not there. I have Fire Stick, so I hit the Fire Stick button and say, show me. Comes up and says I can watch it on something at like Tuesday at noon.
Oh,
And
that's
like,
helpful.
well, no, this is playing right now. And then that's when I texted you going, is it not on? Because when the Alexa or whatever the thing is in my Fire Stick, like gives me only my first choice is noon today. And then you send it to me and I'm like, this is part. I mean, if I wasn't me and I was just a casual fan, I wouldn't watch it. This is way too much effort to watch an exhibition. I'd put in the time if, like I said, it was game 5 of the World Series, but a home run derby, I would have just let it go. I never would have texted you and just said, oh, yeah, hey, whatever. But there's way too complicated to figure out what day is the game on this. And I hated that went through the whole NBA season that way. Okay, what day of the week? Oh, well, is it on ESPN or is it on it, way too much work for me.
By the way, just to quickly mention tonight, the All Star game is on what most of us would refer to as Steve is regular TV. It's on Fox tonight, 5 o'clock our time. And I do actually, I completely get what you're saying, Steve, because we're in this crossover period generationally of people running away from cable and satellite and whatever. I don't care, but in this process, a guide of where everything is, a way to know, a way to be reminded is missing because we don't get ads on, say, ABC for coming up on Netflix. I know they did run a few for the All Star for the home run derby. They ran them on sports stations. Most people couldn't see them. And so if you're a casual fan, like you said, most casual fans yesterday, if they even thought of it, they would have picked up the remote and clicked through, like if they have also cable or dish, and then, oh, I guess it's not on yet. Oh, what? And then they forget about it because it doesn't pop up. It doesn't show up because you described you went the whole NBA season. I'm doing that with baseball. I haven't bought the MLB package because I have all the streaming services, and it seems to be enough for me. Being an A's fan, I get all the A's games. Being in Sacramento, plus, but I've got to remember. Okay, Friday is Apple for baseball. Okay, Saturday they're doing Saturday Night Baseball. That's on Fox. Wait, when are they on Peacock? It is. It's it. The only way I do it, I go to ESPN.com and I go to the schedule, and every day they'll look under the. Which is you have to be way inside to think of that hack to go to look at the schedule for the major league for ESPN, and then they'll tell you when it's on. So you sent me this text, and then the other thing that helped me start the show this way was I mentioned before we do the show. Like an hour before they do the show, we talk in each other's ear real quick. Hey, Steve, can you hear me? Yeah, hey, Rob, you can hear me? And then, okay. Today, you made a comment about you did watch some of the Derby, and you said it was exciting or something like that. And I thought, I didn't watch any of it. And I knew it was on Netflix. Because, like we talked about yesterday, I'm so, I don't know, over it, it wasn't, as you said, it wasn't important enough. I have other things to do. It's not like I was sitting there, eating Ruffles, watching reruns of 2.5 Men. I was doing other work for this show or for my other show. And I don't need the All-Star game or the home run derby on in the background. Ultimately, hometown hero Kyle Schwarber came down to Wilson Contreras in the semifinal, or beat Wilson Contreras in the semifinals to advance. And there were a lot of Philadelphia fans there booing anybody who was going against the hometown favorites. When Contreras was eliminated by Schwarber, they went nuts. Bryce Harper of the Phillies, he was eliminated in the first round. Eventually, it comes down to Schwarber, Walker, Jordan Walker from the Cardinals. Ultimately, Walker hits 12 home runs in the final to Schwarber's 11. And wins it. There's a lot more fun little details we can go through, but you enjoyed what you watched, which I'm surprised at because you've been kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I have, but I turned it on and Wilson Contreras was up to bat. And this is I think he was the first batter. I don't know because, I mean, obviously I didn't turn it on till almost 5:30. And he's hitting just bombs. I mean, he's averaging 450 to 480 on all of his home runs. There was like none cheap, and he goes 13. I'm like, wow, that's a big number because you only get 20 outs, 20 swings. That's it. And then if you homer on the very last ball and you homer on it, you'll keep going until you don't homer. So he goes 13. I'm like, man, that's incredible. Up comes Jordan Walker, and he proceeds to hit 13 as well. And I'm like, wow, this is such a big number than what I would have thought for advancing. You're already two guys in, 2 13s. And so then I watch like the next couple of batters, and Caglianone, but I think he finished with 9 or something like
8.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
8. And then the next batter. And then at that point, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go eat dinner and I'll check in on it when I finish. So when I finish, I come back to it, and it's heading into the Schwarber Contreras battle, and we watch it, and Schwarber goes first and he hits theirs, and Contreras starts making a run, and then they start like cheering when he does it. So as soon as the ball's hit, you can tell what it is. The whole crowd erupts like it's game 5 of the World Series. It was crazy. And
That's
so
cool.
they went to booing the non-Phillies players and cheering like it was the greatest thing ever. And then we hit the finals. And the thing that I noticed with Walker in his first round out, and I don't know if anybody knows who Jordan Walker is, really top prospect. I think he's only 23 years old, if I'm correct. Like the Cardinals' top prospect. This is his 4th year in the league. So he came up at a very young age. He's been adjusting the first 3 years. Mediocre. He's not a very good defensive outfielder, but he couldn't, what it was supposed to be hit with power and be a really good hitter. He hadn't really developed. And this year he finally has. I think he's got 20 homers in the season, something like 74 RBI. He's becoming the player that we anticipated. And I was one who was high on him when he came up to the bigs. I'm like, look, this kid has the potential. And I'm watching it, and he's swinging so easily. He's chewing gum. He's got his hat on backwards. He looked like he was having more fun than anyone out there. Just nice, easy swings, and the ball just jumps off. He's also 6'6", 6'7", I think he is. And the ball just flies. I mean, he's hitting line drives that are clearing the fence. And I'm like, okay, he has it down. Let's see how he goes. So I was happy to see it was Schwarber versus Walker, and Schwarber comes out and he crushes it. He goes, 12, 13 homers. And if you think about it, out of 20 pitches, that is such an incredible number. Again, this late because they're tired because they had the opening round, the semifinals, and then the finals. And you're like, man, he's got to be tired. That's a huge number. Walker doesn't have a shot, and he starts off and he's a little slow. And to speed this up, he hits the last 6 swings out of the ballpark to beat Schwarber. I think he was like 2 down going into the last pitch, and it's a homer, or whatever it was, a homer. And it's like, okay, now he's tied him. Let's go one more. And this is all off the last pitch. Boom, he hits the next one for another one to win. And the crowd's so disappointed because he won. And it was cool to watch him because 6 straight pitches to hit home runs in order to win a home run hitting contest. That is exciting. Even if you're just, I don't really care. And I haven't watched the home run derby, as I said yesterday, since I think like Josh Hamilton's display he put on in the first round. So it's been many years, but it was enjoyable to watch there at the end.
Some details to fill in. St. Louis Cardinals outfielder Jordan Walker just turned 24 in May. By the way, he gets it. The electricity of the crowd rooting for the fans. Walker won. He said afterwards, quote, "My thought is Philly's brutal. I mean, honestly, but I think it's pretty special because they love their players, and that's what you want from where you play." End quote. Walker, with his 12 homers to beat Schwarber's 11, earned $1 million prize for winning the Derby, which is more than his salary this year of $799,000. That's
good.
Cool.
Good. That's even better. If I would have sat and thought about it, Schwarber's making $40 million a year. This guy's making $700,000. I would have even been more into, Jordan Walker winning it because I made more in one day than I did the whole year.
You mentioned Wilson Contreras just bombing it. He did hit the second longest homer of the night, a 490-foot shot, which was in the first round. And it was Junior Caminero who had the longest, a 491-foot blast in the first round also. The longest homer of the night. Players indicated they liked the new format, which allowed for 20 untimed swings in the first round, 15 and 15, semifinals and finals. Walker hit a total of 31 home runs, the same number that Schwarber hit total. The MLB's home run leader acknowledged the hometown crowd got him a little too amped. Schwarber was like, I wanted to do it for him. So there you go. So that worked out. Steve enjoyed it. Obviously, All-Star Game is tonight, and we'll talk a lot more about it coming up.
Too amped, and he messed up. What did he hit? 11 out of 15 pitches for homers. I was too amped up. I wasn't ready. I should have went 15 for 15.
I was pressing on those other 4. From the NFL, between his stints with the Buccaneers and a second run as Raiders coach, John Gruden was an analyst on Monday Night Football. I liked Gruden as a broadcaster. Did you?
I like Gruden as a whole with everything, and I'm real curious to see where his lawsuit against the NFL goes because he doesn't care. He has the money. It's all about what happened.
And the goofy thing with this lawsuit, it's not the same, it's different, but it's an interesting analogy. It's kind of like the Pete Rose saga that never ended, of Pete Rose constantly wanting to get back in with Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball constantly telling him no. Again, different examples. Gruden kicked out, email memos, blah blah blah, racist terms, etc. I'm not discounting what he did. It was years ago. If you know, you know, kind of thing. NFL does not like him, and he does not like the NFL, but he can't let it go. He can't. What's the phrase from the movie? You won't know. You don't watch movies. He just can't quit the NFL. And John Gruden has now publicly said he wants back. He wants to get back in the booth. But wait, there's more. Not only does he want to get back to broadcasting NFL games, he wants to do the other job. Gruden says, quote, "I was a broadcaster for 9 years. I want to do play-by-play. Frank Gifford, he transitioned into the play-by-play role. I would like to transition. I had 9 years of watching Tirico, and I'd like to give that a shot, man." End quote. So if that's too broad, what he means is there's the Joe Bucks of the world, the Jim Nances of the world, the Al Michaels. That's their job. They do play-by-play. They're the ones saying Mahomes takes a snap, throws it to Kelsey, blah, blah, blah. And then in comes Troy Aikman to do color. Or John Gruden used to do that. He would come in and go, "Oh, yeah, I knew that. He was going to do that. And he throw that. Well, Gruden's saying, "I want to come back to broadcasting and I want to do play-by-play." Why? I love Gruden, too. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know why he has to take that pitch. Just, you're either going to get back to the NFL or not, and I don't want to hear you calling games. I want to hear you giving me your insight. So it's goofy timing and weird body of what he said.
It is. I don't think anybody wants to hear him do play-by-play. I mean, his value was as a coach and his past experiences. I want to hear him color. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear all of that stuff. And that's where the great color men, in our time, John Madden, etc., Troy Aikman, that's their value. I don't need them to tell me that, it's third and short and the handoff to Tony Dorsett who goes, I don't want to hear that from them. I want to hear that from the best that do that. And then you don't necessarily have to play the game, as we know from listening to all these games. The play-by-play just has to be great at what they're doing off of that end. I don't think Gruden's getting back on any of it. I do think this is part of why, though. He has the money, so it doesn't hurt him because he can't get back into the booth. I don't believe he can. He can't go back to being a head coach. What he said was wrong. We all acknowledge that. His point is the NFL singled him out. They pull 400, 500,000 memos. And the only thing out of all of that in the entire NFL that leaks is his. That seems a little targeted. And that's the reason I believe he has continued to go so hard at this, is someone in the NFL had it out for him specifically, is the belief. And he just wants to somewhat clear his name and show that the NFL was biased in going after him and no one else.
Selfishly, the thing I hate about it is that we just don't get Gruden. I can, like you said, we've always talked about, can you separate the art from the artist? I'm only listening to John Gruden when he's talking football about football. I'm not thinking about anything else. And the idea as a subset of that is that we're getting Tom Brady to do color and not John Gruden. It bothers me because I know the ability that each has. Brady doesn't have it. Gruden did. They have all the experience. Brady just doesn't know how to deliver it to us as a color guy. He's great when he's sitting around with the guys. Color guy couldn't do it. Gruden could. That's where they should be headed. Instead, Gruden ain't coming back. And incidentally, just this is not in any way to appear defensive. On one hand, play-by-play is not as easy as it looks. It's a totally different animal. Gruden can say he's sitting next to literally one of the best in the business for 9 years. It doesn't mean that the osmosis transfers to you. However, if you're a talented broadcaster like Tirico, Nance, Buck, anyone can do play-by-play. Now, I know those seem contradictory, but they're not. Once you've narrowed it down to a field of talented people, anybody can do play-by-play. I could do it. Point being, if anyone can do play-by-play, why do I want John Gruden doing it? Like Steve said, I want John Gruden for his specific talent. The reason Joe Buck and Al Michaels and and Nance do play-by-play, we don't have anything to contribute. We don't have any great stories. Nance can talk about playing golf in college. That's as close as. It's a totally different animal. And I don't want to hear Gruden doing it. Plus, I don't think he'd be very good at it. And he was great at color. So the whole thing is just a silliness to me.
I agree with you. I think you'd be a wonderful play-by-play announcer because you have the voice, you have the knowledge, you have all of those things, and you know how to control a show, a program, a game, and all of that stuff. I could never do it. I couldn't even be a color man. I mean, just take what we do.
Yeah.
I have been sitting on this side of the microphone doing what I've done. We're talking 40 years now. I could never do what you do. I don't know how. And to sit and think that, oh, because you talk on a microphone, you could do both ends of the, not a chance. I couldn't do what you do. You could do what I do, but I could not do what you do.
Yes, but I wouldn't have the actual knowledge. I'd either be reading it or faking a lot of it. But yeah, but you're right. I mean, that is the point. That's why we have color guys and play-by-play guys. Bring what you bring. That whole story is very strange to me. A couple other non-baseball notes with the All-Star game and the All-Star break going on. After making NHL history this season, San Jose Sharks center Macklin Celebrini has now made video game history. The 20-year-old, still, I can't believe this guy. What's he in his third year, fourth year? He's 20. Will be the cover athlete for both the standard and deluxe editions of NHL 27 later this year, according to EA Sports. And Celebrini will become the youngest player ever featured as a cover athlete for its NHL series. He's wearing a white Sharks road jersey on the standard edition and a teal Sharks home jersey on the deluxe edition. The Sharks selected Celebrini first in the 24 draft. He set a San Jose franchise record for points in a season this year. Finalist for the Ted Lindsay Award. Finished fourth for the Hart Trophy. Was named the IIHF's Male Player of the Year last week. And, of course, did pretty good in the Olympics for Team Canada, even though they got the silver. You've loved this guy since you could spell his name, Steve. And he is on cloud 9. He is having a hell of a year.
It is wonderful to see, as I believe he's played the 2 years. He's going into his third year. You could see he was a star from the get-go. I'm glad to see EA Sports jump out in front of this because I think he can be, and this is a really bold statement, he can be in that Ovechkin and those type of players. I think if he stays healthy, continues doing what he's doing, you know, we're going to talk about him like a top 30 all-time player in the NHL with the points, the goals, and everything he does. The Sharks are doing it right and surrounding him with talented players. I'm ready for, he already had his breakout. I mean, second year, he goes for 115 points. That's incredible. And I just hope he continues to build on that. And we start talking about him in 10 years as a potential to be the greatest of all time, just like we do with Patrick Mahomes.
He does seem right now to be the modern day heir apparent to, say, Connor McDavid, and we'll start, having those conversations. But the other thing too that you mentioned is that the Sharks look ready to matter because Celebrini won't wind up in Mike Trout territory. Great player that no one pays attention to because the team's awful. As opposed to the Sharks are going to be nationally platformed, televised. They're going to matter. People are going to see this kid if they haven't already, hear all the stories and go, oh, and being on the cover of EA is a big deal too. This is a big jump. This can't be really overstated for both Celebrini and the Sharks in their process of coming all the way back. As LeBron James' free agency continues, very little has surfaced that could be considered concrete about his future, other than still Cavaliers are believed to be in the front seat, although I don't believe any of this. The Cavaliers remain the odds-on favorite to land LeBron, but on the popular prediction market, Steve's favorite, Kalshi, the odds have shifted, specifically affecting the next three that are believed to be involved in the mix. This is the problem with these prediction markets. This is a fascinating story that immediately I start going, is there any truth to this? Is this inside information? Is this clowns like Steve and I sitting around, except they've had too much to drink on, hey, let's start a Kalshi bet. I don't know. It appears whatever's going on with Draymond Green and Steph talking with the Lakers, or talking with LeBron rather, has affected the odds on the James front. As of midday yesterday, the Golden State Warriors had pushed their way up to number 2 on Kalshi as the team most likely to acquire LeBron, ahead of the Miami Heat, which is a significant surprise. So it's Cavaliers, Warriors, Heat on Kalshi as of yesterday afternoon. Another noteworthy aspect of the updated odds to land James is the drop in the 76ers odds. Everybody was all over that after Steve said it first. Kalshi currently lists them as fourth, and it's a big drop off. The Cavaliers have a 43% chance to land LeBron on Kalshi right now. The Warriors 24, the Heat 23%. Then you drop all the way to 9% for the Sixers. Everybody's under 5. You get Kalshi in there and it's prediction market stuff, and that's what we're talking about there. I don't know if there's any truth to any of this. Where the odds come from? Is it all this insider trading thing like we've talked about? Is there any basis to moving these odds? But that's the latest as we start with the LeBron report for today.
And I have a hard time with the Heat. I mean, their strength is they're big. Bam Adebayo, Giannis inside. What they bring in LeBron, and I know he loves to control the ball and run the offense through him, but you gotta have some perimeter guys. You gotta have your true point guard, and I know LeBron does all this. I don't think I still think the Warriors are the best fit, and I love the Sixers for the possibility of the chaos of what can happen, good or bad. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. And I do believe with the Sixers, LeBron would be on the best roster he's ever been on in his entire life. I don't see the fit with the Cavs necessarily. I don't see the fit with the Heat. I know if I'm both teams' owners, I'm not going there. We already been there, done that. Why am I doing it again?
Well, the Cavs, right? The Cavs are being sucked in by the romanticism of it. That's why they're doing it.
I get that, but at a certain point, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me. Burn me a third time, burn the house down.
The problem that so what we just did for 3 minutes, that's the conversation we should be able to have, and we just did. But in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, because this entire story is fueled by changes in the prediction market, I'm going, what happened with the 76ers? How did they go from everybody's pick yesterday to plummeting down to 4th? And what I mean by that is this just typical? Who knows? There's no basis for it. Or because it's a prediction market and Kalshi, is there something inside? Does somebody within the Sixers organization know, yeah, we're not going to be able to pull this off? And they leaked it. So it kind of ruins the fun of it even.
I will tell you this, and I believe this. I believe LeBron James knows where he's going. I think his inner circle already knows where he's going. And I think they've known this not just today, but they've known this for a little while, like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. They know where it is. They're just sitting there. Hey, look, you can stay in the mainstream of the media. When the media finally stops talking about where he's going to end up because we get tired of it, then you come out. And I'm just curious if he's going to have another signing day like he has in the past. Or if he's just going to come out and he's going to do something. It's not going to just drop and say, hey, look, LeBron's just signed a contract with Team A. I don't think that's what it'll be. There'll be an announcement.
We can't just get a text. We can't get an alert that says LeBron just signed with. We have to have a show. No,
yeah, we can't do the Barry Sanders and just give a statement to a newspaper, the Kansas City Free Press or the Wichita Free Press, whatever it is. Just say, hey, look, I'm retiring here. Go ahead and send it out over your fax machine or whatever you do back then.
To your initial point, Brian Windhurst on ESPN has been saying now for 3 or 4 days, he's convinced LeBron knows, and to your point, has known where he's going. He reports it as LeBron in his camp. He also goes out of his way, of course, either for credibility reasons or because it's the truth, to say, Brian Windhurst, I have no idea. We have no idea. We don't know, but we're convinced, we, the sports media, LeBron knows. And that goes back to the Kalshi thing. Great. I'm not claiming for 1 second that LeBron's trying to make money on Kalshi. I think he's got other things to do. But there's people down the trough. There's people that are in the circle, or people who know people that are in the circle who may say, hey, don't tell anything, man, but you know what? It's Cleveland. Okay, well, news trap. That's the thing about the Kalshi part that makes me wonder, are we talking about something real or not?
And this is the problem I have with it, because what a wonderful way to reward your camp without, actually having to provide Christmas presents. Look, I'm going to let you know, go hit Kalshi, Pally Market, all these prediction markets. You can go make a quick 100 grand. That's your bonus. I'm letting you know this ahead of time. And, go have fun. You're part of my camp. I value, but that's the stuff that can't happen. That ruins the integrity, but there's no way to stop this with these prediction markets currently.
I hadn't even thought of that one. All right, one more update out of the NBA. Klay Thompson's with the Mavericks. He's a 5-time NBA All-Star, 4-time NBA champion with the Warriors, and it looks like he's going to be moved out of Dallas as the Mavericks begin a youth movement, which brings us back to the aforementioned Miami Heat. According to the Miami Herald, Thompson has emerged as a, quote, strong player of interest, end quote, in the Heat front office, and their interest in Thompson is not dependent on landing LeBron James in any way. The team needs more shooting to surround Giannis, and since Thompson's a 41% three-point shooter, he would fill that need. There's a name, Steve, I hadn't even thought of. Like if you would have said Klay Thompson to me for no reason a week ago, I would have been, is he still playing? And then the minute I go, yeah. Am I wrong to think this is a great idea for the Heat based on what you were just saying?
The Heat need that. They really do. I just don't know if Klay Thompson's the answer. You look at it, and are you looking at his career numbers, or are you looking at his last 3 seasons? Also, he's under contract with the Mavericks. If they move him to the Heat, are they going to get any compensation? I'm sure it's going to be based on how much of the salary that the Mavericks cover for sending him to the Heat. And if I'm the Mavericks, why am I picking up a portion of his contract in order to send him to Miami to fit there? I want something back from Miami. I don't think Miami really has anything to give back. I don't think they necessarily have the money to do it. It sounds good in theory, but because I think there's like 17 million in the second part of this contract that Miami can't cover. So somebody's got to pick that up. And if you're Dallas, are you really covering 17 million for him to go play for the Heat? I'd love to see, look, if we're getting the band back together, let's just send Klay Thompson with LeBron to the Warriors, and let's just reunite the whole thing and bring Klay Thompson back with Curry and Draymond, and bring in LeBron, and you're going to make this run with the geriatrics team. Let's add Klay. I love it.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah 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 and blue 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 blue. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk,
suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about MicroSeal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com, that's AdvantageSteam.com, AdvantageSteam.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com, SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Steve has been running sports books for decades, and Rob spent decades running radio so far into the ground he just created his own network. This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show on the RAD Network.
We got the Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight, 5 o'clock on Fox. No Shohei, no Aaron Judge, no Mizorowski, no Skeens. We'll talk about it. It's at 5 o'clock.
I was waiting for you to say no interest.
It's going to take a lot for me to force myself. And honestly, even with all the baseball I'm watching this year and as much as I'm enjoying it, I don't think if we didn't do this show that I would make time for it. And I'll make time for it, but I ain't going to watch the whole thing. It just doesn't, like we talked about yesterday, these all-star games. Before I get back to tonight's game, real quick, Steve, because you'll know whether or not this is something that we should be following, because it's getting some headlines and it's your account, not mine. What is going on with Michigan's athletic director? This is getting a lot of play. Is it something we should be paying attention to? Is it nothing? I just keep seeing the headlines.
I personally think should be a nothing. I don't think it's going to be. I think the media, the fan base is going to I think they're making way too much out of this. And one of the things I'll tell you, even though I am a Michigan fan, is Michigan's very delusional when it comes to the expectations of the program. They think they are far better. They're the number one program in the nation in football, basketball, all of this other stuff. They're on a success right now. Look, in the last 3 years, they've won a college football championship. They've won a college basketball championship. The problem is they believe this is what they should be doing all the time, and it's not realistic. They're going after the athletic director because of the football team with Harbaugh, And, the sign stealing scandal that happened 4 years ago or whatever it was, the NCAA has already investigated the whole thing. They have, issued the disciplinary action. Sharon with the football franchise and how he went off the rails, lost his job. They're moving on. And, I don't, yes, they probably should have seen it and maybe taken stronger action earlier on. But when you look at it at the beginning, and maybe I'm missing something, he was having an affair with someone he should not have had. I agree. People have affairs all the time in this world. To sit and say, like Mike Vrabel and what's her name, Dana Rossini, I don't even, close enough hopefully. Again, they had an affair. That's between them and their family. Theirs really wasn't anything because it wasn't working in the same department or anything like that. And I get, look, you should never be fooling around with a subordinate. It's a bad feel. And I understand getting fired. And he went wacko and a whole nother thing, and he's facing, that other stuff. But is that really the athletic director's problem? To the extent that it ended up going, yeah, if he had knowledge, he probably should have taken action a lot earlier. And now I think the Dustin May leaving Michigan and going to the Dallas Mavericks, he had an agreement for an extension. He hadn't signed it. And because he hadn't signed it yet, even though they had the agreement, he was able to go to the Dallas Mavericks. And it seems like that was the final straw of, look, you had an agreement. You didn't get his signature. You're incompetent. You got to go. I just think they're pushing a panic button for something that's really not there. And I go to, who are you going to get that's better? That's the question you always ask me. And do they really believe they should be winning national championships year in and year out in these different sports? I don't think so. I think he's done a wonderful job with the program. Oh my gosh, I have 2 championships I can sit here and talk about. In the last 3 years, I didn't have that for 30 years prior, type of thing. I think it's a bunch of nothing that they're blowing way out of proportion. And maybe there's more to it than what I mentioned and what I have knowledge of.
Certainly not from what I'm reading. I asked you under the guise of, hey, I keep seeing the headlines, and then while you were explaining, I grabbed the story. The short version is that the Michigan regents are going to discuss an investigation into what they call the culture of Michigan athletics this week, which could lead to athletic director Ward Manuel's ouster after nearly 40 years at the school. I didn't realize he'd been there for a lifetime.
He played football there too, and just worked his way up through the university.
He knows he's under fire, Manuel does. He's defending his accomplishments and reiterating his desire to remain with Michigan. Quote, I don't need the credit for Michigan's success, but I'm not going to stand idly by and let people say all this happened despite me. End quote. He acknowledged his job could be in jeopardy, said he has had several conversations with Michigan leadership in recent months about a buyout, which has 4 years remaining, but said it is his intention not to leave, and it's highlighted by this paragraph that you brought up, Steve. Michigan has won both a football and men's basketball championship in the past 3 years under Manuel's leadership, but a string of off-field controversies have dogged the school's reputation. Has it? This seems forced. This is forced.
It is.
Come on.
And I know I'm biased. I'm diehard Michigan. I am. But this is forced. It isn't. And what's the Board of Regents? I mean, you want to win at sports, and oh no, this guy allowed a football player to use the office phone to call his parents because he wasn't able to go home for Thanksgiving. That's a UCLA violation, so we better fire the athletic director. It doesn't make sense to me unless there's more to this that we are not aware of.
As mentioned, tonight is the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies will start in his home ballpark, taking the mound for the National League against Dylan Cease of the Toronto Blue Jays. Oh, so close to his second no-hitter last week. Sanchez is 11-4 with a 2.62 ERA. He's third in the majors, 144 strikeouts. And remember, he's the guy. He's like, why do I know that name? Went 50 and 2/3 scoreless innings in the first half. We were all tracking. How many will he go? Will he beat Hershiser? He stopped at 50 and 2/3. Meanwhile, Dylan Cease, 6-4, 2.56 ERA. Nearly threw his second career no-hitter Wednesday against the Giants. It was broken up in the ninth inning. We were talking yesterday with Zach Wheeler saying, go to hell, when the All-Stars came back and said, hey, you're choice number 47. And he said, no. We were going through the different stats of the various players that did make it, didn't make it. You got to, you could have just done the right thing and named Zach Wheeler to the club in the beginning. But in this case, you've got to start Sanchez. You're in Philly. Dylan Cease is not a very sexy start, but I guess it's fine.
No, I disagree with that. The Christopher Sanchez was a given, and we watched him throw that 50-plus shutout innings, whatever it was, and we talked about it the other day with what a shame that Don Mattingly allowed that one outing to just destroy. Because you look at his stats right now at the All-Star break, and you're like, yeah, they're good. They're nothing great. And if you're the casual fan, you don't understand how good he was and how that one bad outing, and he had a couple of shaky ones before that bad outing, just blew up his whole stats. His stats would be great if you pulled out that one game. Dylan Cease is deserving. Cam Schlittler still needed. Cam Schlittler has been the most dominating pitcher in the American League this entire season. Aaron Judge has been out for quite a while now. The Yankees are just trying to find a way to keep their head above water. For me, it should have been Cam Schlittler. You should have recognized it. And I know, hey, look, Dylan Cease has put in his time. I don't buy that. Seniority to me has always meant who gets the right for vacations. It's the best person. Seriously, it's the best person in the job at all times, the most qualified, not because I've been here longer. Cam Schlittler is the most deserving. He should be starting this game for the American League.
Now, I know there is a story that Schlittler is skipping pitching entirely, but I don't know if that decision was made before or after the starter was decided or named. And I agree with you, Steve, that Dylan Cease is deserving. Like I said, though, he's just not sexy. And I don't know if it's because he's a Blue Jay. I don't mean that. I think all the sexy guys aren't available, apparently.
But they are in the American League with Cam Schlittler. And if he's going to be on the active roster, then whether or not he missed a throwing day is irrelevant. Because if he's on the active roster, it means he can throw today. These pitchers don't, like the olden days, the starting pitchers would go 3 innings. They all get 1 inning. So who cares if it's the first inning or the 7th inning or the 3rd inning? If he's going to throw 1 inning, let him do it. He gets the acknowledgement of being the best pitcher in the American League, which he is, and starting the All-Star game. I mean, we all remember Atlee Hammaker starting an All-Star game in which he gave up a grand slam to Freddie Lynn in that game. And Atlee Hammaker, unless you're a hardcore baseball fan, you don't even know who that is. So there's something to being named the starter. Who came in after Atlee Hammaker? No idea. So you get your name notched in that history book by being a starter in the All-Star game, not on the roster.
So, but Schlittler's the one, and or the Yankees, who said, I'm not pitching. He's going to attend, but he will not pitch.
And if he's not on the active roster, as in to play in this game, then great, and I understand it. But if he's on the active roster and eligible to play, he should have started. If he withdrew, then that's a different story.
Let's see here. Schlittler told the Yankees Sunday morning, so it was before any announcements. I feel really good. I'm not worried about recovering. My priorities with the team. All players on the All-Star roster must be available to play per league rules. New York Yankees right-hander Cam Schlittler doesn't intend to pitch in the All-Star game, but said he'll, quote, be ready if they need me, end quote. So in other words, Schlittler's driving the bus on Sunday saying, I don't want to throw. I will if they need me. I'm staying on the roster, but don't name me the starter because I really don't want to throw. So this sounds like a Schlittler.
Well, that's a bet on him. I'm an American League fan. I want every player to have the opportunity to play. And if I'm a Yankees fan, and it's the Yankees, so it's slightly different. But let's say that I am, no, seriously, I'm a Kansas City Royal fan. And I have one player in the All-Star game. I want to see him play. I love it, the fact that they're going back to wearing their team jerseys, and we will see that in the All-Star game versus a National League uniform and an American League uniform. Uh, but if he's going to be on the roster, he needs to play. And if he's going to play, he should be starting. That's shame on him. He should have removed himself like the other players did and allow someone else who's willing to play in the All-Star game take his roster spot. He still gets the same acknowledgement. Hey, look, he was a 2026 All-Star. Big deal. He didn't play in the game because of whatever reasons. That doesn't change, but that's a shame on him.
No, I agree. I agree with everything. It's just a matter of figuring out, and this is the bane that is for sports what the NBA has wrought with load management. All of these sports and all of these athletes now feel like they can come on in and you had the exact analogy. Most people, if you were fans, certainly of baseball especially, and you had a team and you had one guy, even if you had two guys on the team, and you're a baseball fan, that's all you cared about. You wanted to see your guys from your team play. Steve's right. It's the Yankees. Every kid has what, 8 players in the All-Star game? That's not the point. Whether it's Cam Schlittler himself, the manager of the AL team, the team, they're all robbing the fans when they do this, when they say we're not going to have the best pitcher in the American League even throw, certainly not start. And you're right. He should. That's the privilege of having the best start to the season. And then when I was bringing up, the non-sexy thing, Scooble just threw. He ain't going to be ready. I mean, again, is he on the roster and he's available? He ain't starting. Miz, he ain't even there. So all the American League pitchers, all the sexy ones, aren't available. That's all. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it.
At least Cease is deserving. I will give him credit.
Yes.
So I'm not complaining in that sense of going, oh my gosh. But then I got to ask. I mean, Ron Harris Suarez made the team. He was injured and he backed out. And maybe I've missed it because I don't pay that much. Sonny Gray's 11-1. How is he not on the All-Star team? And he actually has, I want to say, a better whip than Ron Harris Suarez and possibly a lower ERA, and he doesn't even make it. Well, if Schlittler's not going to play, shouldn't Sonny Gray be on the roster somewhere?
You would think that would make the most sense. Yes.
So we have the American League that we have players who are staying on the roster who aren't even wanting to play or going to play. And we have players in the National League that are very deserving, Zach Wheeler, that they won't even give him the time of day in his own ballpark in Philadelphia. He's their best pitcher on their team. And we won't even add him. And then we throw him a token. Well, okay, you've thrown a big enough fit. Go ahead. You can have your ice cream now.
And he
it's
says,
like, no,
nope.
I don't want it anymore.
Speaking of it being in Philadelphia, another thing is I don't know any real, I don't know. For the All-Star game, because it doesn't matter, I don't know any real grown adults who just can't wait to hear the starting lineup for the All-Star game. But Kyle Schwarber of the host Phillies will lead off for the National League. He would have been Shohei, but Shohei's not playing either because he's having a knee procedure ahead of the season's second half. And then New York Mets left fielder Juan Soto will bat second. And then you go Freddie Freeman, C.J. Abrams, Max Muncy, Ozzie Albies, Brandon Marsh, Andy Pajes, and Braves catcher Drake Baldwin. That's your National League your National League batting order lineup to start tonight.
And one of the shames of where the game has gone, and I don't know, Rob, if you've ever, I do, because I just love watching sports and even reruns of games. The introductions of the starting lineups to me is very important because you get to see who it is and just the differences in the game. When you roll back and you hit like, I don't know, the 1970 All-Star game and you go to the American League and you get Reggie Jackson, Al Kaline, you go, Pudge Fisk or whoever, and you just go and it's like all-star, all-star, all-star. You go to the National League and you go Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, and you just go on and on. It's awesome to see the talent, the lineups, because they were all there. I'm sorry. Okay, hey, Schwarber, Soto, Freeman, CJ Abrams, probably not going to make the Hall of Fame. Max Muncy's not going to make the, and you start looking at these lineups going, yeah, there's a few. But the beauty of the olden one is they played, and you'd like, wow, look at that. They had 15 Hall of Famers on that roster for both sides, each. And those are the things that we miss out with how today's game has changed and the lack of importance of these all-star games.
For the American League, manager John Schneider of the Blue Jays has Angels center fielder Mike Trout leading off. From there, we go to Yordan Alvarez of the Astros at DH. Shea Langoliers of the A's is hitting third. Junior Caminero, Bobby Witt Jr., Cody Bellinger, Riley Green, Ben Rice, Ernie Clement round out the lineup for the American League.
And I'm going to hit on this. Sorry, I'm jumping in here. Yeah. Langoliers had a good season, but if I'm right, Langoliers hasn't hit in like a month. Why is he right hitting third? Don't you drop that? I mean, seriously, don't you drop that down to, hey, look, Riley Green's had an outstanding season. He's been hot for most of the season. You got him batting eighth. Don't you move Langoliers down in that lineup? You put him in the 3-hole, which is supposed to be your best pure hitter for power, average, everything. And you take the coldest guy on the entire roster, and that's where you bat him. I don't understand these kind of thinking, because if I'm the manager, I want to win the game.
That might be the problem, how little everybody cares. I'm surprised Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting fifth. I would have moved him up.
I'd have Bobby Witt Jr. second, and I'd have Yordan Alvarez third.
I agree. Certainly, and Langoliers could drop down to seventh and be fine. Whatever. Speaking of, we mentioned Don Mattingly, coach of the Phillies, and then you got Schneider, who coached the Blue Jays in the World Series last year. That's why he's coaching the All-Star game, which brings us back to Don Mattingly, who admits he felt a tinge of awkwardness when he was offered a chance to serve as a coach tonight under Dodgers manager Dave Roberts at the All-Star game. Not because Mattingly managed the Dodgers way back when, but because he passed on a spot in that dugout when he left his job as Toronto's bench coach to manager John Schneider after the World Series. When the Blue Jays lost, Mattingly said, "That's it. I'm finished with baseball." Then he got home and his family said, "No, you're not. Leave. Go do something." And so he did. And so he wound up working for his son with the Phillies, and now he's the interim manager. And he's not only still in the game, he's got them back in the playoff race, and he will coach against Schneider, his former boss, tonight, and his Blue Jays staff at the All-Star game, because he will be a bench coach for Dave Roberts. Mattingly said yesterday, "It's weird being on the other side. I was torn, but then I went home, and my 11-year-old son asked me, 'Do we get to go on the field for the home run derby?' And I said, 'All right, that makes that decision,'" end quote. So the little rat kid forces Mattingly to go on and coach in the All-Star game.
And I couldn't find the article again, but I was reading an article about 3 or 4 days ago, and they touched on the Don Mattingly and his contract situation. And this came from one of the ESPN experts, insiders type of thing. And they basically said the Phillies are really looking at Alex Cora coming on at the end of this year, regardless of how Mattingly goes. They're not seriously looking at Mattingly, which is why he hasn't received this contract. And depending on how far that goes, it may change. But if you're at the All-Star break playing great baseball like this, and Dave Dombrowski and that front office is still saying, look, Alex Cora's our guy. He didn't want it midseason. But we're bringing him on board after this season, regardless of what happens. Mattingly was the stopgap, and they say that's why he has not received that contract yet, because outside of his son, I'm sure, the rest are not sold that he should be the manager long term.
See, this is what we were talking about yesterday, and that's why I threw out, are they literally sitting around waiting for Cora? Because the word is the players do like him. The players like playing for Mattingly. It's this weird disconnect because Mattingly has also added to it by publicly stating yesterday, I want the job. I'll do it. And our reaction was, give him the damn contract. I wouldn't be surprised if it's although what I would hope is that Mattingly's doing enough of a job that he's going to get one of those opportunities that we were talking about yesterday. Either he goes and manages his Yankees, which he played for, and Aaron Boone's overrated. I don't know if he can beat Mr. Met as the manager of the Mets. But perhaps
that is the best.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say.
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 509, Equal House Number 2.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob and Steve. Email the show at res@theradnetwork.com.
In the middle of the Major League Baseball All-Star break, always makes for a fun time of filling in and talking about whatever you can talk about that's going on in the world of sports. It helps that you got the NBA and the free agency and where's LeBron going to go, and well, you got World Cup if you're into that crap, but I'm not. So the NFL, this story, it seems like such a yet another list. And yet it's gotten all of this traction. We're on day 2 of every network, ESPN, Fox, even though it's an ESPN story, and social media going nuts. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He's been there forever. You'd know him if you don't by name. You'd know him if you saw him. He's worked his way into he's like the Athletic of ESPN. He did that story back in March where he had all the off-the-record Eagles players talking about Jalen Hurts and what a pain in the ass he is in the locker room, etc. And now Fowler has come out with his annual survey of the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL according to executives, coaches, and scouts. Now, the way they come up with the 10 best isn't he doesn't go and say, name the 10 best. He says, name, I don't know exactly his methodology, but then he puts together all of them, gives them points. It's like, give me your top 3, and here you go. And they came up with their, and this story is getting so much attention about some various facets of it. Usually if we were going to do a list like this, Steve, we might sit down and, really dive into it sort of thing. But if we were out and somebody said, hey, Mickelson, who are the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL? What would you just say off the top of your head?
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and man, I might go Matthew Stafford. I'd have to sit and really think about the third one.
I would say Stafford off the top of my head, and I'd probably put in a little caveat. Oh, man, you're catching me off guard here. Mm-hmm. But those are the 3 I was thinking. Mahomes, Allen, Stafford. Now, I should point out, we a lot of these surveys where you have the anonymous players and managers and stuff, they're insightful, and they tell us things. They don't always pan out, but they still tell us things. Like, remember, speaking of the Athletic, the 200 NBA players, none of whom said the Knicks would win the finals when they did their postseason survey. Not one current NBA player predicted the Knicks.
I forgot about that.
That's still insight, though, right? It tells us what the players. So this isn't necessarily indicative of what would happen, but you go out and you talk to these executives and coaches and scouts, and you say, name the best quarterbacks, and you come up with these lists, and you get everybody to start, wringing their hands over who is or isn't on the list. So we right away throw out Stafford and Mahomes and Allen. And I haven't even looked. I have made it a point to not look at the list. I didn't want to dive into it too much until we talked about it, because it's hard when the list is in front of me and then you start throwing out names. Well, that's because I got the list sort of thing. But okay, I like where he went. Matthew Stafford, but I kind of want to think about it. Joe Burrow did make the list. All of them that we mentioned made the list. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, all made the list. And then Joe Burrow. You're a big Joe Burrow guy.
As much as I love Joe Burrow, my favorite player in the NFL right now, I would have him 4th because he can't stay healthy. I think looking at his career where they're at, yeah, I'd rather have Burrow because Stafford's old. But I think right now, last year, whatever, and even rolling into this year, I think Stafford's a better quarterback, because if you hung a line on would Joe Burrow, will he start all 7? Let's make this easier. Will Joe Burrow over and under start 15 and a half games for the Bengals in the 2026-2027 season?
Wow.
I don't think you can necessarily favor the over. So you're leaning towards the under. And how can you say he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league if he can't even stay healthy and start 17 games?
And by the way, thank you for delineating between the two, because the question was very simply, who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL in 2026? Not what people will do when they're too cowardly to answer it, which is they'll play the both sides of their mouth game. Well, I'm going to want somebody younger than Matthew Stafford. No, right now. We're not talking about the future. And I'm so glad you did that, because I'm just saying this year, that's why for me, I can't yet think of somebody I'm putting ahead of Stafford. Joe Burrow was on the list of the top 10 for the players
the coaches, the scouts, the executives. Lamar Jackson was also in. They didn't rank the rest of them for us. We only know that Josh Allen was first. The rest of them we didn't get rankings on from. But Lamar Jackson was named.
I think you got to put him in the top 10. You
Yes.
do. And as much as you and I, just his dual threat and his ability to run and pass when the team is leading is impressive.
It is. You're right. I'm. It's the long in the tooth, and I'm close with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's a season behind Lamar for me. I'm just the old. They're the best, and they can't even get you there, and they can't win thing. It's starting to wear on me. But you're right. Lamar certainly has to be in the top 10, and that is the list. Dak Prescott made the top 10. Okay, best offense in the league.
Yeah, can't win a big game.
True. Justin Herbert from the Chargers, he made the top 10.
Is he really top 10 based on what he's done on the field? And I love Justin Herbert, or is it potential? And I'll use Trevor Lawrence as another one. I don't think Trevor Lawrence's numbers, I keep comparing him to Gardner Minshew, because if you look and take the name and the picture off of them, their seasons going into this last year were very similar of what they've done for their career. So I would put Justin Herbert there, but I'm not sure he fully belongs in the top 10 until I hear, 10 that I think are better.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, as much of a quarterback league as the NFL is, are we at the point where it's 5 and then 10 more that are good? Kind of, now we're at half the league sort of thing. Because I have the same problem with Herbert, or the same concerns with. I don't know if he's top 10. Like, if we would have phrased this differently, I think you would have had the exact same answer. One guy walked in, hey, Mickelson, Justin Herbert, top 10 in the NFL as a quarterback? You're probably going to be like, I don't know. I got to look. Because it's not like if they said Patrick Mahomes, duh. Of course he's top 10, right. Idiot. Justin Herbert,
and Patrick Mahomes, I don't care what my team, if they're all young, they're all old, they're veterans, they're running game, they're passing, Patrick Mahomes is there. Herbert, I think, still falls in for me into more of that system quarterback and what he's going to be able to do. I think Trevor Lawrence is in that system quarterback. I think Dak Prescott's in that system quarterback. Josh Allen, I'd take. You don't have to tell me another single player on the team. Patrick Mahomes, I would take. You don't have to. And sorry, I would take Matthew Stafford still right now, not knowing anything else of what we have with the team. I would take all of them, and I would take Joe Burrow, but I'd have that concern with my health.
I mentioned they didn't give us the actual vote totals. They did tell us that Josh Allen would finish first. But they gave us the top 10, and then they gave us honorable mentions without vote totals, which I'm jumping to. We still have 3 more in the top 10. But since you've said his name twice, Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence was in the honorable mentions category. He didn't make the top 10.
Good.
So he ain't
About
up there with
time. I'm glad the players see what the rest of us see and not the media.
To that end, you know who else didn't make it and is also an honorable mention? Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts was also not in the top 10.
Right with them. I agree 100%, which is why I like the player polls better than the media polls.
So Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts not in the top 10, Josh Allen number 1, and then the rest of the top 10 in no particular order. Mahomes, Stafford, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. The other 3 that are in the top 10 and therefore are better, according to players, coaches, and executives going into 2026, than Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts. The other 3 in the top 10 are Drake May of the Patriots, Jared Goff of the Lions, and Caleb Williams of the Bears.
I agree with the Goff and the Caleb Williams. I don't agree with Drake May. I'm not there with him. I'll give you 9 of the 10. Yeah. Caleb Williams, and you were going into those 3. I'm like, Caleb Williams better be there because he is one of those top 10 quarterbacks to me. Jared Goff, I could take or leave him, but as you hit, I'd rather have Jared Goff than Hurts. And I'm trying to think who. Oh, Trevor Lawrence. I'd rather have
Trevor Lawrence,
Goff over Trevor Lawrence. So I'm in agreement with Goff being in the top 10. Drake May's not there for me.
Of the 10, would you say Drake May is the weakest, even weaker than Herbert?
I would put Herbert ahead of Drake May.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are your 10, and it includes Herbert and it includes Drake May. Those are the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL according to coaches, scouts. Well, we already know that means they're all better than Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts. Other honorable mentions include Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold of the Seahawks.
I think you hit on his whole career. It's
right.
Look, he had a great year with the Vikings to the last week of the season and then in the playoffs, and then he had a great year. But look at all those clunkers he's had prior.
Both unfair and also a sign of how much they obviously think his potential is Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels was an honorable mention with not really playing last year, meaning there's enough of them going, we're still scared. Yeah, but he's not a top 10. That seems right.
Yeah, because he was injured. It's tough to throw him in there. If you ask me going into the season, not knowing anything, which quarterback would I rather have? I'd probably take Jaden Daniels over Drake May, but I think Drake May's got to be down there with where he's at.
And also in the honorable mentions list. So Sam Darnold he's won a Super Bowl. Whether he's going to wind up in Trent Dilfer land or whatever, he's won a Super Bowl. But he's an honorable mention. The other 3 honorable mentions with Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts, who has won a Super Bowl, Hurts has, and Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels, they're 3 guys that have to prove something, I think, to get into the top 10. Now, they may belong ahead, in your opinion, of Justin Herbert or Drake May or whatever, but the other 3 are Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love, Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, and Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield all made the honorable mentions list.
I think you're missing Bo Nix. I would have Bo Nix up there. I would take Bo Nix over Drake May if you had me pick which quarterback would I want. And I think Bo Nix is moving into that soon, going to be talking about him as an elite quarterback. I don't think we'll ever fully get there with Drake May. I don't think we're going to consider him, an elite quarterback at any time in his career.
The 3 categories were the top 10, the honorable mentions, and then there's 4 categories. The third category was received votes but negligible amounts. Bo Nix. I think that's one of the big stories. I was surprised that he received some votes, but there were so few that Bo Nix was negligible and not even being mentioned, because we've mentioned the top 10 and then 10 more honorable mentions? I'll count while you speak.
Yeah, I think at the end of this year, when we look at the 2026-2027 season, if Bo Nix starts all 17 games for the Denver Broncos, he throws over 4,000 yards. He throws 27 plus touchdowns. I think you're going to look at his season and it will be up near the talk for the MVP. He may not win it, but I think you will look at him as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL this season if he stays healthy. You brought in Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. You got Cortland Sutton there at wide receiver. I'm expecting big things, and I know it's a tough division with the Chiefs and the Chargers, but I'm expecting big things from Bo Nix this year.
And again, just under the guise of the question. The question was, who are the best quarterbacks in 2026? I was shocked that Drake May receive so few votes that he's not even in the top 17, is, by the way, what it was between the 10 we gave you in the honorable mentions. That one is the one that stood out to me, and I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about it. I accept that Daniel Jones got a few votes, wasn't good enough. And neither was C.J. Stroud, I love C.J. Stroud, but we've talked about it. That was a bummer last year, and he's got a lot to prove this year with the Texans.
A lot to prove. I'm with you, and I hope he does it. I loved him his rookie year. I mean, he was the quarterback you and I just kept texting about during his rookie year and how good he was. He made all the throws. He made it look so effortlessly. And then he's kind of just petered out a little bit for me.
So those 3, Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, C.J. Stroud. I don't have all the vote totals. What I do know is, remember, not one NBA player of the 200 they asked said that the New York Knicks would win the championship when we knew the playoff teams. Not one vote for at least one starting quarterback of prominence that's getting a lot of headlines, Aaron Rodgers. No one even voted for him. as one of the 10 best quarterbacks. Remember, that was the question. We don't know how many they asked him for, but they didn't even, not one person mentioned Aaron Rodgers.
Which is great. Remember, Rob, you and I, if you asked the question as the top 20 quarterbacks, he still wasn't getting mentioned for either of us. So I'm glad to see, and again, this is where I put more weight into the players. They know what's going on. They have more knowledge of the game than you and I will ever have. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't deserve to even be in the top 20.
No. In fact, didn't on our list, didn't he wind up like 29th when we finally?
No, I don't think I
No?
believe my number was at 24, and I don't really remember where you at, but I thought you might have been 25. I don't think we got him below 25.
Okay. You're probably right.
But he might have, because when you look at all the quarterbacks, did we have him ahead of Kyler Murray, or did we have him behind? If it was JJ McCarthy, we would probably have him behind.
Well, yeah.
But we're banking on Kyler Murray winning it. Does Tua get the starting job in there? And that's where it made it tough when you got down into that, above 20 is who's real. Are we talking Kirk Cousins? We're talking Fernando Mendoza. And because the reason those teams are in the bottom 10, they have no quarterback play.
Another version, but totally different. Again, anonymous. This was Chris Sims did this from formerly of NBC. Now he's just Pro Football Talk, right? Of head coaches. He talked to head coaches and players, current players, and they came up with. They were talking about coaches. So these are the actual coaches and the actual executives in the league. So to me, this one seems fairly obvious, but I have the list in front of me, and I went, well, yeah, they're. And I haven't gone past it. Top 3 coaches in the NFL, Steve, going into 2026. No particular order. We've got
Andy Reid.
Right.
Man, this is where I think it becomes a little bit more difficult for me off the top of my head, because I'm like trying to swim through 32 teams in a couple of seconds. I'll tell you, Sean Payton came to mind for me. I would still go John Harbaugh over a Jim Harbaugh. I can't put Dan Campbell in there anymore because he allowed that chemistry that made the franchise so good fall apart. Head coaches. I'm missing someone. I know I am, but who am I missing?
I got the first 2 in my head right away. It was Andy Reid and Sean McVay. And by the way,
yeah. See, Sean McVay didn't enter my mind. If it would have rolled in my mind, yes, I would put Sean McVay probably second without looking at anything else, without a doubt. He's
for what it's worth. In this NFL.com one of ProFootballTalk.com survey of head coaches and players, it was Sean McVay first, ahead of Andy Reid. Again, we don't have vote numbers.
Okay.
It's the third one that stumped me. I thought of Dan Campbell. He was 5th. You mentioned Sean Payton. He finished 8th amongst players and head coaches. Super Bowl winning champion Mike McDonald, the Seahawks, is 4th. I guess, okay, he won a Super Bowl. He turned the defense was already the defense. I guess, yeah, okay, that's right. Hold on. It's only the top 10 this season. I guess he does have to be in there, doesn't he? He has to be.
And that's where I was looking at it wrong in that sense, because I'm looking at it as their career and where they're at. I was looking at more moving forward. If I had my team, who would I take? Like the best head coach in pro football, not the best head coach right now on the best team.
And that is kind of where it gets a little wonky with putting McDonald at 4th. I already know who 3rd is. And certainly, I do think Andy Reid and Sean McVay, they are the 2 best coaches today, and they would be the 2 best ones to move forward. So those ones were a little easier. McDonald finished 4th. Dan Campbell, you mentioned him, he finished 5th of the Lions when all head coaches and players were asked anonymously. Matt LaFleur of the Packers, 6th. Yeah, that's a little high, isn't it? And so's this, and I love this guy, but DeMeco Ryans, 7th? That must be a function of what we hear about how much players love playing for that guy.
I love DeMeco Ryans. I don't know if I'd put him in the top 7.
Ahead of Sean Payton.
I'd
This
never
year.
have him. And so far, the people that you've read off, I'd put Sean Payton still, as I said, in my number 3 slot of what we've been discussing.
All right, let me give you 3 more, and then we'll tell you who's actually in the number 3 slot. So Sean Payton is 8th. Mike Vrabel finished 9th.
I love
and
Vrabel.
Jim Harbaugh rounds out the top 10 amongst players and head coaches, except we haven't told you who third is.
I love Jim Harbaugh. Michigan. I mean, I think John Harbaugh is a better coach because Jim Harbaugh wears out his presence. He burns the players out. I love his energy. I love his weirdness because he is strange. But if you said pick which Harbaugh I feel has been a better coach in the NFL, and you want them long term, I'm not saying a 4 or 5 year period. I would go John over Jim.
But what if we did the literal test of this season? You still think right now today that Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than
no,
John?
Because he's with the Giants. They're not going to make the playoffs. So I'm going to take Jim Harbaugh because I think I had him at like 11.5 or 12 on the win total. All we would do is sit down and go over our win totals, find the teams that are at the top and say that's our best coaches because we think they're going to win the most games, which then puts Sirianni up there because I think we had the Eagles at like 12 or 13. And I think Sirianni is really one of the worst coaches, not the worst, but he's average at best to a little below average as a head coach. But based on the win totals and how they're going to do this year only, he'd have to be a lot higher than what I really feel he is.
So the end of the whole thing, asking head coaches and players anonymously to name the best head coaches in the NFL this season. There's actually a big disparity. Again, they didn't give us totals, but they said the top 3, and then everybody else was way down. Sean McVay was number 1, Andy Reid was number 2, then there's number 3, and then you really had to take a dip to get to Mike McDonald and Dan Campbell and Matt LaFleur. The third best coach in the NFL right now, according to players and other head coaches, is Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers, who I didn't even think of as a Niner fan. And then when I heard it, I went, okay. I mean, he's top 5 probably.
He entered in my mind, but I would still take Sean Payton ahead of Kyle Shanahan. I'm still a little concerned with the Kyle Shanahan and his ability to lose big games when you have a lead and not be able to close out. And that's the part that still just sits with me. I would have Kyle Shanahan in the top 5 without question. I don't think I can get to 3 with him.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A micro seal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah 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 and blue 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 blue. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? But there's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com, that's AdvantageSteam.com, AdvantageSteam.com.
The Rob and Steve Show on the Rad Network. Let's get back to it. Email Rob and Steve, RAS@theradnetwork.com.
Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight, 5 o'clock on Fox. As we've been going through where baseball stands and who should be, this is the traditional time. It's the All-Star break. It's quote unquote halfway through the season. It's a little more really, and then we're 2.5 weeks. August 3rd-ish is the trade deadline. So this is the time of the year, buyers, sellers. And what screwed this up traditionally for all of us in a great way is this wild card thing. Used to be very easy to just look at, well, okay, these teams have no chance. They're not going to get to the postseason. Then they brought in the wild card, and now it's like almost every team has a mathematical chance. Which ones have realistic chances? We went over some of them yesterday. We did also allude to others that we'd work our way through of the today and tomorrow. I wanted to jump onto Steve's Boston Red Sox, who finished the first half at the Angels, at the White Sox, at the Mets. They had not gone on a 9-0 road trip since 1977. And the Red Sox finished the first half, winning 14 of 16 and 17 of 22. They are no longer in last in the American League. They are within a half game of the last wild card spot. They are 2 games under 500. Yeah, they're in the East. They're 10 games back of the Rays, and you got the Yankees but now, Steve, you sent me a text over the weekend. Something like
few.
They're going insane, and Boston's on a roll. Let's go get Scooble. And I know you were joking, but should you have been in the American League? Yankees or Rays, presuming a meteor doesn't hit one of them, they're one of the wild cards. The Guardians or the White Sox, presuming a meteor doesn't hit one of them, they're the other one. That only leaves one spot. Right now, that spot goes to the Twins, who are not in first place in the American League West. I don't know if anybody in the West is going to sustain. The Twins, put them in the same boat. Oh, and there's the Red Sox. They're a half game out behind both the Mariners and the Twins. They're a full game ahead of the Astros, 2 ahead of even the Orioles. Should the Red Sox not be, I'm not saying they should get Scooble, but should they be serious? They're right there.
I think they need to go to get Scooble. The fan base needs it. The team needs it. Wow. They need to invest some of that money. They need to show that they're stop being this budget team that they've tried to be for the last 7-8 years. Get back to being the Red Sox. Make a threat to the Yankees, the evil empire. The Red Sox, they've never been able to compete with the Yankees. It's kind of like Michigan trying to compete with Ohio State in football. But on occasion, you got to ruffle their feathers and be competitive. And they just haven't been. And I don't think you go out to be buyers to win this year. You would need to look long-term. Does it help you this year? Great. But we need to look down the road. I think, like the Dodgers, the Red Sox are one of the few teams that I think have the assets to sit down and make a run and possibly put a good enough package together. The Red Sox season prior to 25 games ago was awful. It was horrible in every way. And, it was tough to swallow. But they had a lot of good young hitters that came up. The thing that nobody talks about is we've seen Peyton Tolley come on. Really good young pitcher. He's the 23-year-old that I keep saying looks like a 48-year-old truck driver with his hat on and his big mustache. Connolly Early has pitched really well. He's injured right now. He's gone on the DL, but he has shown a lot of promise. And lately, this kid Bennett has come up. He's thrown the ball really well. So they've brought up three good young pitchers. You still got Garrett Crochet sitting there who hasn't, he's been injured here for a while. We see Ron here Suarez. We see Sonny Gray sitting at 11-1. You have a lot of depth, young pitchers, veteran pitchers in that rotation. When healthy, they are, I think, arguably one of the three best rotations in the American League, which to me would put them in that conversation. They have the good young talent in the outfield, in the minor league system. They have enough that you could throw back a couple of major league ready pitchers. You could throw in some, some of that outfield talent. Maybe that's where Jalen Duran goes. Maybe they take Marcelo Mayo, even though his stock has really fallen. But you move a couple of pieces so you can give a pitching prospect, major league ready, a good young rookies, minor league players, major league ready for Skubal for a half a year. And you only do it if you know you're signing Skubal. So now you're adding Skubal, just like the Red Sox did with Garrett Crochet. They sent off Kyle Teal. They sent off Mydroth to the White Sox. They sent off four players that are starting for the White Sox. You could do something like that with the Tigers. And being a half a game out of the wild card, you add Skubal to this. Any team outside of the Angels, Royals, A's, Rockies, probably Mets and Giants, Skubal's going to make an immediate impact and throw them into that wild card picture. Show the base you're willing to invest. Show them you went on this long winning streak. Your team really isn't as bad as what we saw the first majority of this season. They've played 90 some games. Well, the first 70 absolutely sucked. But the last 25 has been promising. What the team you thought would go into it, back it up, bring in Skubal. Now, if you're not going to sign Skubal and you already know you may not be able to sign him, you don't make the move. But if you're willing to invest the 450 million, whatever it is to get him, go get him, make the trade, bring him in.
Fun right away when the second half resumes or kicks in on Friday. The Red Sox will be at home, where they don't like to be, and they'll be hosting the Tampa Bay Rays. So right away for the weekend, we'll get a good little look at the Red Sox. Now, whether or not they should be going after Skubal does bring us to, you didn't even want to talk about the Tigers yesterday. You were just beside yourself. I don't know what do I say about it. Look, the Tigers, owners of Tariq Skubal, who you've said from the beginning, like months ago, somebody's got to win the Central. We can't count on necessarily the wild card, even though right now you would have, the White Sox and the Hawardians would be in. Well, the Tigers, not just like the Red Sox, are no longer in last place. The Red Sox are in third in the American League East, and the Tigers are no longer in last place. They've got a solid lead over Kansas City. They're only 6.5 back just in the Central. And then you go to those wild cards, they're right behind so you got the Red Sox a half game behind, and then the Astros 1.5. Orioles, Blue Jays are in the way. Granted, Tigers got a lot more teams to go through on the wild card side. The Phillies beat the Tigers on Sunday, but Tariq Skubal gave up 2 runs on 4 hits and a walk, struck out 5 in 5+ innings. Nothing's happened, Steve, to make anybody go, Skubal's a problem. He's got a rehab. He's going to be coming back. He's looking fine. I haven't heard anybody saying anyone's cold on Skubal. So let's do what you want to do yesterday. Where are the Tigers? Where should they be? They can get a Brinks truck for Skubal, or they can do like I heard Tim Kirkshin of ESPN this morning. He was on my thing. They can wait 2 weeks. Let's see how the Tigers do after the break and wait. Let everybody bid up, and see where they are 2 weeks after the break. You don't like that idea, but so where are you today?
I'm not saying I don't like that idea. My concern is if they run off this win streak, and that's where it was good that the Phillies took 2 out of the 3 in Detroit. Detroit's a much better team at home, but I think that was a little bit of a reality check because they were 7-1 in their last 8 going into those last 2 games. I just, yes, go win the division. They have to move Scooble. This franchise doesn't do anything good for itself longer term, which is anything after what, October 1st of this year. If they hold on to Scooble and they get nothing for them. I watched the Red Sox hold on to Mookie Betts when they knew they weren't going to re-sign him and really get nothing for him. You have one of those generational type players that has the potential to if he just keeps going as he is, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. These kind of players, if you're going to lose them, you need to get something for them because people will pay the price. Hold on to them for 2 weeks. I think they just need to trade him for the very, very best offer they can get for them. If it comes tomorrow or if it comes in 2 weeks, great. But the biggest mistake they can make is hold on to him. And lately they keep flirting with it. Okay, here they come. What, they're 6.5 out of that division. But realistically, are they going to do damage in the playoffs? I don't think they are. And I think you do too much damage to the franchise long term for the next 2, 3, 4 years, possibly even 5 years to the franchise if you don't move him for a fairy tale dream of possibly going deep into the playoffs this year.
So what I love about loving the chaos is if they don't have something ready. I'm not saying they would wait all the way till the trade deadline, but if they take any form of my approach or the Tim Kirkchin approach, it might only add to this false hope scenario that you're presenting because the Tigers do on Friday, right after the All-Star break, with 3 in Anaheim. Oh no, not the Angels. Now they do have to go to the Cubs, then they host the Royals for 4, and they host the Orioles for 3, and they host the A's for 3, and then you hit the trade deadline. The Tigers could go on a hell of a run here and feel like they're on the top of the world because they only play one team in there, the Cubs. Everybody else, they're out for the most, in realistic terms.
Yes, and the point I'm making, I'm going to go to Jaylen Brown and the Celtics. I mean, they had him, and wait. Well, if the Celtics today knew what they were getting for Jaylen Brown in this deal they got from the Sixers back before they had, lost out on the Giannis deal, would they have upped their offer for Giannis knowing the package they had to accept it? And that's more where I go with this is get the best deal you can. Waiting doesn't always bring you an even better package because the closer to the deadline, more teams that they're going to be able to watch. We watched Jaylen Brown get thrown away for what, a first round pick and a bag of, sorry, I can't really say it on TV because I don't go there in my language.
Paul George. They got Paul George.
And Paul George. And that's not better. So get the best offer you can get. And as you said, the Tigers go like 12-2 in the next 2 weeks. They're going to be delusional that maybe we can win the World Series. We're right there. We're a game and a half out of first place. We're playing great baseball. Scooble's a big part of that. And if they don't win a World Series, was it worth it to hold on to him, even if they go to the American League, championship series? Was it worth it to hold on to him and know they get nothing versus, say, a package that brings in, just take the package that the White Sox got from the Red Sox with Meidorf and Teal and et cetera. Wouldn't you rather have that package than go to the World Series and lose?
What about, just to play devil's advocate, the PR side to it? You don't want to become Artie Moreno of the Angels and say out loud, my fans don't care about us winning with your actions. How will the Tiger fans feel if they do go? If the Tigers go 12-2, whatever the record turns out to be after the All-Star game, they're right there. Maybe they're in the wild card at that moment. And they trade Scooble because then you're going to have this backlash because fans are the most unreasonable people on the planet. The fans are going to, how dare you? We were all set up and you traded away our best guy.
I am 80% Detroit/Michigan fan, so I think I have a good understanding of that fan base, rooting for every team in that area except the Tigers. They want to win a championship, but I think they're also realistic. They're waiting for the bad to happen. If you can tell me that, look, and I think they all know they're not going to the World Series. It's just most likely not going to happen. Well, I would rather trade making the playoffs and not going anywhere to, look, I have 2 to 5 plus more years of hope of winning this division and possibly maybe somewhere along that line of doing something. I would make that trade right now, which is where everything I've said about the Tigers, and even though I'm not a Tiger fan, I am a Detroit and Michigan fan, and I just see it playing out, just like the Red Sox and Mookie Betts. They're going to be far more disappointed when the season ends if they kept Scooble than if they had some hope for the future.
Now, we mentioned with the Red Sox an interesting start to the second half. They'll play Tampa Bay, who's in first place in the American League East, which means the hell are the Yankees doing? Well, the Yankees are 12 games over 500. They're 3 back of the Rays. They've won 4 in a row while we're in break now, 6 of their last 10. And not since 1910 had they swept a series the way they did against the Nationals. This is one of those really obscure stats that you would never think of. Ben Rice's 2-run triple in the 8th on Sunday helped the Yankees to a 5-3 victory. They trailed in the 9th on Friday, in the 8th on Saturday, and on Sunday, and they won all 3 games. So it's the first time the Yankees swept a series of at least 3 games while trailing in the 8th inning or later in each of them since May of 1910. That's a silly stat, but it's a reason to dive into the Yankees.
Hold on to that Yankees thought, because I'm going to take what you just said and say, how frustrating is it as a Nationals fan? You have all of this hitting. You are exceeding what the predictions said. You're having great. And what, 2 weekends ago was the weekend that the Phillies swept them, scoring everything in the 9th inning. And then you just sat here at home against the Nationals and watched the Yankees win it in the 8th and 9th game. You were leading in every game going into the 8th inning, and you're 0-6, I want to say, in those games alone. The national fan base, oh my God, I feel for you, because that's, and I've lived through a lot of suffering, but that's a lot of suffering right there.
What about in the, let's go to the West.
We didn't even hit on the Yankees and their thought. I threw you so off guard because I cut you off. The Yankees, they just need to survive. Beginning of August comes in, and Rodon is supposed to be back. Grisham is back now. Hopefully Judge at some point is going to come back. I thought estimated date was in August of what they're looking at. They just need to survive. They're going to make the playoffs. They're too good not to. They have the pitching, the depth to keep them in ball games. Keep in mind, Lewis Heel is still sitting in the minor leagues. I mean, they haven't felt their pitching has fallen off the, over the cliff that bad that they haven't brought him back. They're going to be all right. They just got to get healthy. And that's the big part for them, is get healthy, survive until August, and then hopefully the ship turns around and you start sailing as the best team in the American League again.
And remember, another one of those really cool, the first half is over Friday night. The second half begins with the Yankees hosting the Dodgers. That should be a fun weekend series. Speaking of the American League, I said we'd jump over to the West. It also includes the East a little bit. On Sunday, the Mariners beat the Tampa Bay Rays 8-2. That snapped the Mariners' 5-game losing streak. Seattle lost 3 straight to the Marlins to start what turned out to be a 1-5 road trip. And to the American League West, Steve, we never really got into it. It feels like this might be the most volatile one all the way through, but I'm not predicting that. It just feels like that could be it. You got the Rangers in first, who you have no faith in. They've got a game and a half lead over the Mariners, who you've liked. The Astros, who you've really said, look out, here they come, here they come. A's seem to be fading away. They're 8 games back. You go to the wild card right now with the Rangers in first. The Mariners would get in. I don't know if they can sustain it. I know you love their pitching. I think your more likely scenario is Mariners win and nobody from the West goes. But what do you see in general in the American League West overall? Is there a wild card team out there? And are you still thinking Astros when it's all over?
What I see day in and day out more and more is this is the NFC South division of the NFL. Get to 500, make the playoffs. I think the Mariners with their starting pitch, I have been waiting the entire season for this team to make separation, and they're 48-49 with that rotation. There's something wrong there. The Astros, all the injuries they had to their pitching and everything, this team should be buried. They're sitting a game and a half out of the wild card. They're only, what are they? They're like a game and a half behind the Mariners, 3 games out. They shouldn't even be on the radar with everything they faced early on. Their hitting has been there all season, but now they're starting to get healthy, and I can see them making a run because no one else wants to win in that division. And the Rangers, look, they got DeGrom. DeGrom has pitched really well outside of, I want to say there was like a 3 or 4 or 5 start segment in this season where DeGrom couldn't keep the ball in the ballpark. Unfortunately, one of those games that I think he gave up 4 homers to the first 6 batters of the game. I was on him in that because I figured, look, he's got to turn it around. But he's thrown well. Evaldi's thrown well. They got the Latz kid out of the bullpen who's been lights out. He's in the All-Star game. He's been saving games with 2 innings. He's not even a 1-inning guy, but they can't hit. This is 3 years in a row. At a certain point, you got to just admit we have no offense. We just got to hope we win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and that's enough because we're in such a bad division that 500 is going to win this division. So that's why I can't take the Rangers seriously because they can't hit.
The Astros and the Mariners have it a lot better when the second half of the season starts on Friday. The Astros will host the Orioles. The Mariners will host the Giants. Meanwhile, the Rangers have to go to Atlanta. So we'll see if anything shakes out right after the All-Star game, which is tonight, by the way. Steve mentioned yesterday Tristan Peters. He is an outfielder with the Chicago White Sox, but he used to do dances and TikToks in the middle of games when he played for the Savannah Bananas. The Bananas when Peters played there were a little different of the Bananas today, but same idea. I don't know how to describe it better, Steve, than the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, and that almost seems insulting to the Bananas. They're so over the top, and I've told the story before when I was introduced to them by my late wife Christina. I was like, that and, it's the Harlem Globetrotters because she mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, that's cute. She shows me an Instagram video. And then I go, oh, wait, they're actually playing real baseball. These are actually talented human beings. Here's your first. I don't know your first, but here's your banana, who's now prominently in the All-Star game. And I don't even know how to describe. If you care, you'll find the Bananas if you haven't already. They are a joy to watch. I don't know if I can do it all day, every day, but they are sure fun, and they have talent.
And their way of playing just brings entertainment to the game. There's the casual fan who just wants to be entertained. They do it. They have talent. Tristan Peters, going into the All-Star break, a Savannah Banana is hitting 301. I am so stoked that he made the All-Star team because he deserves it. But as you said, he used to dance around in a kilt and do a little show while he was playing. This is awesome. But what Max Venable has done with this White Sox team, they have, a pretty close same roster as they had the last couple of years that they were right with the Rockies is one of the worst teams in baseball, but they're getting the job done. Anunnaki at the top of the lineup is having a nice year. Murray-Kama, all power. This guy's incredible. He's back into that lineup. But Colson Montgomery, another guy, a ton of power, really talented shortstop. Just waiting for him to start hitting for average. But as far as hitting the long ball, he can get it done. Kyle Till, I bring him up as one of the guys that came over in that Garrett Crochet. He is a really good young catcher. Mydrith's been playing second baseman. He's another guy who was a top prospect with the Red Sox who came over, and not just top prospect of the Red Sox. He was one of the MLB's top prospects that was included in that trade. He's having a really nice rookie season as well. Noah Schultz, who got the win on Sunday. This is the Randy Johnson comparison guy who just, he's like 6'11", whatever it is. And Martin's had a great season so far, although the last several starts haven't been like he was when he was dominating baseball early on. It's just a good, fun team to watch. They do the fundamentals. That's the thing that Max Venable changed, is the fundamental baseball. It isn't just sit back, wait for the home run. They put the ball in play, because what a concept. If you hit the ball and you put it in play, good things could happen. Where if you swing and never touch the ball, all you're doing is grabbing your bat and going back and sitting in the dugout.
It is a cool part of the story, too, that the Savannah Banana winds up on the White Sox, which is the most ridiculously surprising positive team of the year. The guy's name is Tristan Peters. If you want to look for him tonight, All-Star Game, 5 o'clock on Fox. We're back tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So don't do it.